his shortest ever foreign trips. PM Modi will spend less than 23 hours at Jakarta in Indonesia and will return home in time for 3 major bilateral meetings that are scheduled to be held on September 8th, including one with US President Joe Biden. Now, he is in Indonesia for back-to-back events, the 20th ASEAN-India Summit and the 18th East Asia Summit. Now, after a very short rest, he will leave for the venue at the ASEAN-India Summit in a short while from now, following which he will take part in the East Asia Summit at around 8:45 a.m. according to Indian Standard Time. Now, PM Modi is all slated for a relentless 5 days of global summits, attending of global summits and a global outreach ahead of the G20 summit that is scheduled to be held in India. Now, the ASEAN and the East Asia Summit is supposed to be held today, and PM Modi's message is to review the progress of India and ASEAN relationships during this summit today. Now, we are likely to chart the future direction of the cooperation and the geopolitical statements and stature of India at this point of time. Now, there will be directions for cooperation and engagement with ASEAN part of Act East policy. Strategic partnership has been injected in new dynamism, and exchange of views on regional and global issues will also take place today. Visit will deepen the engagement with ASEAN region, and this is a relentless attempt at covering down and a global outreach by India in the next upcoming 5 days. Now, joining me on the broadcast is my colleague Siddhant Mishra. A very good morning, Siddhant. How important is this for India to be attending these 2 summits, especially ahead of the G20 summit that is being hosted in India barely in next few hours?
Well, this is a 4-decade-old partnership that India has with ASEAN. Also, this visit is a symbolic visit of Prime Minister Modi to Indonesia, where America has sent Vice President Kamala Harris, Russia has sent Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov, China has sent Premier Li Qiang. India is perhaps the only major country, big country which is attending this summit at a prime ministerial level. So it clearly establishes India's the importance of ASEAN for India, and ASEAN is a central pillar of India's Look East policy. And this is perhaps the reason that despite the preparations for G20 is underway in the country, we will expect the dignitaries to start arriving, or perhaps they have already started arriving in New Delhi. The head of state of Nigeria is already in New Delhi. We can expect some more people some more heads of state to fly down late in the evening. Prime Minister decided to participate in ASEAN Summit, then East Asia Summit, and he won't be holding any bilateral in Indonesia given his commitment to G20. Right after attending the East Asia Summit, Prime Minister is going to depart for India. So it's a very tight schedule, but due to the importance of ASEAN for India, and also this visit is a symbolic visit, and Prime Minister of Indonesia wanted Prime Minister Modi to participate in ASEAN in personal, and this is perhaps the reason the Prime Minister is in Jakarta. Also, last moment adjustments were made for Prime Minister Modi so that he can come to Jakarta, he can attend both the summits back to back, and can fly back to India. So that adjustment, that accommodation has also been made by Indonesia. So for the first it's going to be ASEAN-India summit, and the second it's going to be the East Asia summit. Both these summits have been scheduled back to back for the comfort and for the so that Prime Minister can attend both the summit in a single go and can leave for India. So it tells about India's look east policy. Also, interestingly, what is going to be on the agenda? It's Indo-Pacific future cooperation in Indo-Pacific is going to be on the agenda. The situation in Myanmar is something which leaders are going to discuss. Then obviously the recent Chinese maps, and this was the first time that along with India, it was Philippines, Vietnam, Malaysia. All these countries have come together, perhaps to and objected to the Chinese map, where China has shown their territory as a Chinese territory. So that map, the issue of that map can also come up during ASEAN-India summit when Secretary E. Saurabh Kumar was doing a press conference in New Delhi, and we asked him about the issue of Chinese map. He said that all issues of regional and international importance will be discussed. So we can expect the issue of Chinese map to be discussed. Also, experts say there cannot be any Indo-Pacific without India, and India realizes the importance of being the leader of Indo-Pacific, and that also perhaps makes India increases the responsibility of India. And this is the reason that Prime Minister Modi decided to take this visit to Jakarta, maybe for few hours. His whole visit, including the traveling, is less than 22 hours. He'll be back by 8 p.m. In the night, back to New Delhi. But since this is symbolic visit of Prime Minister of Indonesia wanted Prime Minister Modi to be in person capacity, and Prime Minister Modi is fulfilling that commitment. India is the one big country which is attending this summit at a prime ministerial level, and that clearly establishes India's ASEAN's importance for India, Indonesia's importance for India. Back to you.
All right, Siddhant, help us also understand how crucial is the India-ASEAN summit for India to be attending at this point of time, especially when China is facing a lot of crisis domestically, and we can clearly see that China's rigorous and time and again constant attempts in rising their border paths over Indian border. So how crucial does attending this ASEAN summit become for India?
Well, this summit is very important for India, and you're absolutely right. Given the situation that is going on in China, and also interestingly, one thing would like to highlight for our viewers, which is that China's commitment for ASEAN. When it comes to China's commitment for ASEAN, it is not. It always happens at a premier level. That is Xi Jinping level.
Right.
It never happens at a level of Xi Jinping. So it clearly establishes China's the importance of ASEAN for China. That it is happening from a level 2, not at level 1. But when it comes to India, it is happening from level 1. So that's the difference between India and China. Then obviously, the Chinese expansionist policies, especially in South China Sea, recent Chinese maps, then time and again Chinese Coast Guard ships and Chinese naval ships opening water cannons on the ships of these ASEAN nations, or perhaps not allowing them to patrol in their own area, or try to get into the areas which belong to these ASEAN countries.